we're walking around the garden, but we'll do a tour, like a tour of the physical garden. But I also wanted to talk about what permaculture is to me, because permaculture is, it's a global movement. You know, there's people practicing permaculture all over the world, and it's nice to be part of that movement, and it's really diverse. It's as unique it's as unique as every single place where it's being practiced. Mm-hmm. So here at Ness Creek, there's particular challenges, there's particular opportunities, and from a kind of permaculture perspective, those are really, really critical and important to look at. Okay, what do we have that is an advantage that we can even create more advantage from, and what are our challenges going to be? So a big challenge is social. You know, we aren't used to living in communal groups. You know, like, we're only together for 3 days, but if we tried to live like this for a summer, our personalities would all come out. You know, there'd start to be little rifts and stuff. It's really, really challenging, and that's I like to speak. This garden is a demonstration and education site, and I like to speak from my experience, in particular the mistakes that we've made and the hard lessons we're learning from this garden. So quackgrass is one of those, but we'll get to that. So my point in saying that is I wanted to do I know we did a nice campfire round yesterday. I want to do another round before we go out and work. And in permaculture, or really all the time in your life, like, the nice thing about permaculture is once you start to get the principles and the philosophy of it, you can start to apply it not just to a garden, but to a household, a community, to your business, to life, right? And one of the things to think about is needs and yields. What are the needs of a community, a family, a group of people, and what are the yields? What do they need, and what do they have to yield, right? Or what yields do they want? That would be more of a need. So what we're going to do is, after I talk a little bit about my philosophy of permaculture, and maybe have a bit of a discussion on that, we're going to go around the circle, and everyone's going to say, so this is what I'm telling you now so you can think about it, so you don't get put on the spot. One thing, why you came, like what your need is, because you wouldn't be here, even if it's altruistic and it's just out of the pure goodness of your heart, that's still a need to express your heart joy through doing this, right? So think about why you came here, what your need is for being here, and then one thing you can offer. And not just I'm a good weeder, but something that's unique to you, and whatever expression that may be, however small or large it is, we all have knowledge that's really, really valuable for other people in the group. So think about what you bring, okay? So we'll do that afterwards as another round, just in case, say your name so we all have our names again. Okay, so I was writing out my permaculture philosophy, and who here thinks or believes that they have kind of a working understanding of permaculture? Who's never heard of permaculture or never know nothing? Okay, good. Well, I'm done here. I actually ended up all my descriptions were P's. So permaculture, the first thing I wanted to say is I believe that it's a process. It's not really a goal or necessarily destination oriented endeavor. It's really thinking about a process of moving towards permanent culture, permanent agriculture. And our generation, most of us grew up in cities. There's not very many people who actually know what permanent culture, permanent agriculture is nowadays, right? It's indigenous groups that are still detached from mainstream society, and those people are few and far between, and we all know why that is, right? But it's moving towards this idea of permanent culture and permanent agriculture that we probably share a lot of vision for in this group. One of the best things about permaculture, it's what drew me to it. I was in university when I came across permaculture, and I was bogged down, and I was it's positivity. It's really a chin up, forward thinking, we can do this type of movement. And it's planetary because, like I said, there's people practicing this all over the world, and there's really this sense of, we are a network, we are all connected through this shared drive to practice permaculture. So practice is another one of my P's. Practice in that, like, you have to do it. You have to make mistakes. You have to learn from your mistakes. One of the big things about permaculture is watching and learning from nature. We try to base our designs, we try to base our gardens on principles and patterns and relationships that emerge naturally in nature. And the better we do that, the better our like human created systems are going to be. We practice through making careful changes, trying to find insight, and then watching for feedback from those changes. So was that effective? Was it ineffective? And then it's a practice of consciously attempting to adapt our environments, lifestyles, and relationships. Again, relationships are huge, to a future of energy descent. So another one of the pretenses of permaculture is that we can't keep living in the way that we're living, right? We all get this, I think. We need to start creating and implementing systems now that in the future, whatever that future is going to look like, are going to be really productive and effective for meeting our human needs while requiring less energy, in particular fossil fuel energy. It's passionate. You need to have passion to work like this, like sometimes you have to dig really deep, and I don't mean in the soil, I mean like in your own soul, to actually keep going, because the reality is that the more you look around at society and the more you kind of break out of like, okay, we can't keep living like this forever, the more you go in that direction, the more wearisome it gets sometimes, so you have to be passionate about it. You have to believe in it, and it also requires like you to be passionate with your involvement with Mother Earth, with nature, with creating a new relationship, which maybe you never had if you were growing up in the city or, detached before.
It's like seeing nature as a person, or like as a life form. Cultivating an intuitive knowing with the different elements of nature.
Yeah, for sure.
That you're working with.
Which takes practice, because we weren't raised, I'll say we, because I think it's the general, we weren't raised to be in nature, to learn from nature, to have intuitive logic as opposed to like rational logic,
Well, and that's kind of part of how societies come to be disconnected from nature, is like the loss of that like intuitive belonging to nature, as opposed to it just us being part of it. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Jessica, for jumping in, because I want everybody to jump in eventually. I think I'm kind of rushing through this because I'm nervous or something. Another thing about permaculture is personal responsibility, and that's like, it's cultivating the earth, but cultivating a sense in yourself that you have the power to create the reality that you want, on whatever scale that you can. If it's in your backyard, if it's on your balcony, those like small changes can start to add up, right? But it's saying, okay, this, I can't control society at large, but I can control, I have an ability to impact this garden, like that's what we're all here, because we're taking a sense of personal responsibility, however it's going to ripple out in your life, and it's really personal. It's really like, I kind of moved away from talking about permaculture, and because it kind of started to become this like catchy label for a long time. And I think it maybe still is, but it is really personal. And the more you understand that it's personal to you, and what permanent culture or a more sustainable lifestyle or more ecologically minded garden, or however you want to define it, whatever that is to you, you need it to have that personal connection, because otherwise it's going to taper off, right? So that's what I wanted to communicate. Does anyone else have anything to add? Any feedback on that? Like any responses?
I like the passion and making your own reality part. that is so essential.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really
that's
is.
good.
And it can be scary when like you feel your passion draining. Like I'm involved with another garden, and it's because of like a really, old paradigm, like bureaucratic structure is like, I've noticed my passion just kind of seeping away, and you're like, but I love, like I love this garden. What's happening? And but you have to like I said, you have to dig deep sometimes, but it'll always regenerate if you keep the seeds, watered.
I guess I just wanted to say, like, it's really nice to hear someone talk, like, broad scale and sort of, like, theoretical about permaculture. Often, like, when you hear permaculture, it's just, like, you're getting gardening techniques and herb spirals, and I think it's really important that when we have a discussion about permaculture that we talk about broad scale and about lifestyle and about integrating. I think I'm glad you
Well, it was
spoke
good.
to that.
Yeah, and it was good for me too, because I was like looking back at some of my notes and stuff to kind of pull this together, and I just was like, when was the last time I really felt like this? Like, it's
Yeah.
really easy day to day to be like, that fucking trench isn't working, and what are we gonna do about the quack grass, and shit, this sucks, like, so it's really good to keep the more you can keep the big picture, you can draw from that vision too, to bring the energy in, right? It's like a sun of like beliefs and like hope and vision to like pull down into your labor.
Well, and it's a practice of surrender too, because like we've started this project, and like what needs to be done isn't necessarily decided by us. It's like the garden speaks to us what it needs for better health. So it's again, it's not so much like, oh well, we have this work to do. It's like we're being directed by this garden, by this thing that we're creating, and so very much it's a part of, like, we are part of the earth, not we are on the earth. It's just like a little subtle switch of perception. Like even now, if you guys want to do a tiny little meditation thing, if you just like feel yourself on top of the earth versus as the earth, like as a part of the earth. It's a subtle shift. You're like on top, or then you're part. The floor is part of you. Does that make sense? Can people feel that? So it's like a consciousness, mind or heart. We're thinking, we're trying to do something, as opposed to like, well, we are something, and we're part of something. Like, oh, I'm just this ant in this garden that's doing this work, and it's a part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
The geography, like permaculture, is so vast. Like it's a philosophy. It's hardly even an individual practice anymore, because the soil here is going to be different, far different than the soil in Saskatoon. Like even though we're in the same province, so there's a lot of different differences within the movement, and it's about assessing the needs, because this could be totally different. It's just what we decided for it to be and what it wanted to be. So
yeah. And in nature, everything's like give and take, right? It's all responsive. A forest doesn't produce any waste. The waste of one organism is going to be the need of another organism, right? So the more we acknowledge, I think a lot of the like sickness of our society is because of our like this belief. I think that's kind of ingrained in us that like humans are on top of nature, but also like bad in some way, like that we're like killing the earth, and like permaculture is like, you have to resist, you have to like creatively, philosophically resist that belief system that we are just here to destroy the planet, because when you look around, it's kind of like, well, like, can you really argue with that? We are fucking destroying the planet, but if you can like shift your perception to be like, okay, we are a part, we're not above, we're not outside of, and however we can engage to, make as many of our impacts positive as opposed to negative. You know, as many positive relationships as we can have with different plants, different places, different people. You know, that's affecting our overall impact on the world, really. Anyone else?
I just wanted to mention about like how permaculture is really important because it's bringing community back, and like that is something that we've really lost. And I think our biggest problem also is like individualism and how every single person has to be this individual, but there's no such thing, in my opinion, as an individual in a garden, because even if you have one tomato plant, you can't eat all the tomatoes off your tomato plant. You have to share, and then you can share the work, and then you start building like a community of people who are going to help you with your tomato plants, and then you get more, and everyone's fed, and it brings them all together and reminds people that like a group impact is actually smaller than like each person's individual large impact.
Definitely.
Like if we can like group it all together, it's less offensive than the individuals.
That's a good lesson from a tomato plant. Hey, I never thought of it that way. The tomato's trying to tell us something. Yeah, absolutely. Like, in particular, the last couple of years with these May-long intensive work bees, you know, when we added up the hours last year, Steph and I were like, okay, so there's 300 hours done. So if Steph and I both quit our day jobs and we're like, no one else is allowed in this garden, it's ours. We're going to take everything from this garden. We're going to do all the work, you know. That's like a month of work for two people, right? And then the window is lost, you know. All this work needs to get done in a particular time frame so that the whole garden can be planted. And food forest gardens in particular are really, really good community building, because the yields eventually are going to be so high with the number of fruit trees that are in there, the number of apple trees. So they're particularly good for that, you know, shared labor, shared yield mentality, belief, philosophy. Anyone else?
And if you want to see the final product of the forest garden, every September long weekend we have, well, it started last year, that we had a meal out here, like a 4-course meal, and all the vegetables came from the forest garden, and it was really good. We got a chef from Saskatoon to come out here, and it was a really nice, classy setting, and it was really good.
Yeah, so right now we're trying to turn our quite small yield into profit to then go back into the garden. And so we actually raised the cost of the feast because of kind of the clientele that came last year. The cost of the feast went from $50 to $75 a plate, because there was some like kind of, you know, high class people coming up.
That's nothing. $75 for like a 4-course meal served everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
it's a fundraiser, so that's pretty low.
So yeah, there's stuff from the garden, there's stuff from the forest. It's really we will need some. There's some volunteer positions to come and help harvest and prepare and serve the meal as well. And then another plan is to have kind of more of like a chill hangout forest garden end of the year wrap up where we can, like, we'll probably do it in Saskatoon and bring, like, you know, I'll haul some stuff down from here and we'll just hang out and have beers.
Just to keep the community building, because it's so important. Because like, you know, this is nice and strong and there's so many, but like once we get into the world, then we stretch out, we're all connected, you know.
Yeah.
We can think we're like crackgrass, we're really strong, really dominant.
A lesson from Quackgrass.
Running
your
far.
roots connected.
Yeah. They're high in protein too, actually. Quackgrass roots.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really energizing tea.
Yeah. Well,
So
there's
if
so
anybody
much of it. Like Mother Nature doesn't give us anything that isn't useful. So I was like, what's with this crack ass, and why is there so much of it? And it's super high in protein. It's got lots of like antioxidants and calcium.
It's good for analogies too.
Let's see how many more plant lessons we can harvest
Those
by
root
the
systems are amazing though. Like those are strong and far.
Yeah. Sometimes you find those like really thick ones that go straight down and you're like, oh no. If you've never pulled quackgrass, you will have an intimate understanding of what
Yeah.
we're talking about after this weekend.
And there's a competition for longest.
Oh,
The longest quackgrass.
Yeah, we have to brainstorm what the prize is because I decided there's going to be a prize this year.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good idea. We should totally do that.
Okay, so I think we should go around the circle. Or it doesn't have to be in a circle. We can go popcorn style if you guys want.
Can I just ask a question?
Mhm.
I guess, like, I know that visions are constantly changing, but what's kind of like the end or the future vision of the garden?
Cool, really good question.
What scale of future? Don't
It's
know.
up to whoever answers it, I guess.
Okay.
After today.
Well, the vision for the garden is to have the fruit trees mature for sure and get to be full size. We had a significant, as you'll see, we had a really significant setback last year because we lost almost all of our 3-year-old fruit trees to rodents over the winter. So we kind of had to start from scratch with our fruit trees. So we lost a few years of growth on them. The garden is still like generally kind of at this height. And so, I still have to tell people when they come in, use your imagination because eventually this whole area is going to be shaded by fruit trees. So the overall vision is to make that space as productive as possible and to create a garden that is mimicking the layers of the forest that surrounds it. And then from there, so that's kind of like, and to continue to increase the diversity of plants that are in there. So every year we're bringing in new species. There's more and more insects that you kind of notice, like, oh, that's a weird bug I've never seen before. Pollinators create habitat for pollinators and birds and, reptiles, frogs and stuff. So there's all those kind of like, just concrete type of like what this garden should look like. And then there's, what do we want to do with the produce? Ultimately, this is a community that is not self-sufficient at all. As like lovely and idyllic and romantic as it is to be up here in the woods, we rely heavily on groceries from town. And, even when I was buying the groceries for this weekend, I was like, holy crap, like if we wanted to feed all these volunteers, not, from the grocery store, like what an endeavor that would be to like try to grow all the food to feed the people who are working in the garden, to like close that loop, right? Like
The growing and storing, which is the old-fashioned way.
But like eventually we're going to have probably 12 or 16 mature apple trees and pear trees. And that's going to be a huge, huge yield year to year that we can then store here. It's kind of, as the garden matures, we're going to be able to shift into more and more of the harvest and preparation for proper storage of our yield. And then to continue to experiment and be a demonstration site for Saskatchewan, to be a nursery for plant stock that's hardy here, to have a community around the garden of people who are invested in it, who understand it, know about it, take the teachings and spread it out to wherever, and keep that that's the most important aspect in a way, is the social aspect of it. And I had one more thing on the tip of my tongue. And to, bring school groups up. Students often, there'll usually be at least 1 or 2 school groups that come up, but continue for it to be an education site. And with the Wallapini, this is like a whole new dynamic, which we haven't mentioned before, but we're hoping that the Wallapini will actually be able to be grown in year round.
No.
Well,
I don't want to say year round. I want to say like excluding December, January, February.
yeah, well, that's almost year round.
Yeah, it is, but
For like 3 season for sure, but
3 season for sure.
there's a movement. Nobody lives here during the winter, and so with the Wallapini, we've created a building that is kind of ahead of its time, in anticipation of people who will live here through the year. Because even if you can't grow in there year round, on a sunny day in the middle of winter, when it's minus 40 outside, you can go sit and chill in there, and it's going to be like above zero, and potentially, and yeah, good for extending the season seriously, so that this could be more of a place where people are invited to live year round in a more sustainable way.
It's super effective. Like I've been researching the grow tunnels and stuff all winter, and we're really excited. It looks great. Yeah.
So, anything else? I'm eager to hear from everybody about their needs and yields. Who wants to start? Maybe we should go in a circle because otherwise there's going to be like minute-long pauses in between all of them. Okay, I'm Kelty. Repeat your name just in case we aren't all super familiar. One of my needs is to feel like the group dynamic of the weekend. It's so like motivating and inspiring for me, and it really carries me through the season when there is no one else working in the garden, and it does kind of seem like this really big space to look after and care for. So it's nice to have people connect, come in, bring your energy to the project. So that's one of my needs, is to feel that, which I already do. And one of my yields, I was thinking that before breakfast tomorrow and Monday, I would offer on the stage like a half an hour to 20-minute yoga and meditation, because I just did my first yoga teacher training in India. So I usually do it anyways in the morning, so it'll be like stand up, we won't be doing anything crazy that you need a mat for, and then maybe just a simple short meditation to start your day. So I will be on the stage tomorrow and Monday morning at 8:30.
Okay, I'm Neil. What are my needs from the weekend? I don't know. I'm really interested in permaculture. I've had a chance to be involved in a few permaculture projects, but never very heavily. I like and believe in the idea, and I'm glad for a chance to put permaculture into practice and be part of it. It seems like a really cool project. Plus, it's my ticket to Ness Creek, so that doesn't hurt either. And the festival, obviously, there's also an actual creek called that. And I don't know what my unique contribution can be, but hopefully I'll be able to contribute a bunch anyway, and maybe I'll think of something.
It'll probably emerge through the weekend.
Okay.
Your drumming skills
Let's
with
go.
the fire are always appreciated.
Okay.
Your smile's doing a good job too. So.
Aww.
Thanks.
I'm Derek. I've always liked to be outside, but I've never really done much gardening or anything, so I really like to learn new things, so hoping to get some good gardening skills out of this. To what I'm going to bring, don't really know. I'm always willing to help anybody, so if you ever need help, I'm always down, even if I'm working on something else or anything. Yeah.
Alright, so my name's Quentin again. So I guess my needs, I was talking to Jess about it yesterday for the last little bit. I've been moving so much in the last 8 years because I had the travel bug, and I was like every 6 months, new destination and living somewhere else. And yes, I didn't know I was coming to permaculture or something like that. I had no idea what I was coming into. But we were talking with Jess about permanence and how that's like the only thing I haven't worked for in my life. I like change. I like starting new. And so I guess one of my needs right now, I'm 28, hitting 30, and I want to plant a garden and see it to fruition. And in need of permanence and consistency in my life. And the yield, I guess, so I'm a carpenter, as I said, and hopefully I'll be able to frame some buildings and some useful little shelters for animals, plants, and people. And yeah.
Right, my name's Layla. What I would like to bring here is, first what I like to get out of it. Well, I've been coming to Ness Creek, the festival, for many years, and it's always just nice to be able to contribute something to this place that's so special. And like Derek said too, I always like learning new things about gardening too, to help, our little balcony garden that doesn't work so well every year, so hopefully learn something new this year that might help in the city. And then what I'll bring, also same as what you said, that if anyone needs help, I will drop what I'm doing and help anyone. And also, I'll try anything new, even if I've never done something before. Yeah. My name's Heather. I came here, I guess, to kind of reconnect with Saskatchewan, I guess, because I moved away, so I wanted to come back and kind of reconnect with a bunch of people. And also, I have two needs, I guess. My other need would just be to, wanted to come and learn kind of like some tool skills, like I want to be able to build some stuff for myself, so I'm hoping you guys will help me with that. I guess one of my deals is that I'm a really good listener, so if anybody just needs to like sit and chat or wants to go for a walk or just spend some quiet time together, come this way.
Should we go to Darren?
I'm Darren. So part of what I'm trying to do is be a little bit visible. But the goal is to share what is, in a sense, a kind of pioneering effort to create a garden in the northern setting, which is not an easy thing to do. It's a new frontier of gardening. It requires, I suspect, a lot more effort and a lot more challenges. Animals, the cold, just the cold. Not very many people actually live in a climate like this, which is part of what makes it so protected and so challenging. So I feel that as the planet shifts into, and I do believe that with kind of certainty, as the planet shifts into a period where the human imprint on this world is getting so heavy that we face something beyond challenges and kind of like the end of an era. So being able to shift our growing regions to different areas and to increase production is absolutely necessary, but also the whole thing about forming community, that's where our true survival lies. We need to become semi-autonomous, interwoven, interlinked. There was a thinker at the turn of the last century called Teilhard de Chardin, who thought we were moving into a period when all of our minds would become connected via this magic of electronics and wires. And he saw that, almost 100 years ago. And he thought that would give birth to something brand new, like a whole new level of mind, which he called the noosphere. So I believe that that is actually happening. We're starting to get like signals about what it is that we need to do in the same way that our body gets signals from our brain, or individual neurons get signals from the collective mind. So I believe we're kind of in the birthing process of creating a self-reflective mind. So being able to share this is a beautiful opportunity, and thank you. Let's see, yield. I'm also a fairly competent builder. I like working with trees and learning and teaching about the forest.
Awesome.
For now.
And Darren's going to be filming, evidently.
Right.
If anyone doesn't want to be on camera, talk to Darren.
Okay, my name is Krista, and I am here to learn because the most I've ever planted was a bulb for my mother up at the lake. And I attempted to grow tomatoes, but nothing happened. Like at all. My boyfriend made me a beautiful reclaimed wood, what do you even call it? A bed. Nothing happened. So I have my eye on property right now that has a beautiful, potentially to be a beautiful garden, and I want to learn what I can do to help that flourish. We're sisters, and our grandparents are from Italy, and they have a beautiful garden. Like it's
sick.
Unbelievable. And I would like to learn how to do that and pass that down to my children. Keep that heritage. Always have tomato sauce on stock from my garden. And I came here for my sister too, because this is her thing and I wanted to share with you. Oh, and I'm very handy. I've been in construction for 8 years, and I'm good with any tool you give me. I got a drill if anyone needs it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just here to help, basically. Yeah.
My name's Nina, and I went to Victoria for some schooling, and I knew a lot of great people while I was there. And I realized that I didn't have a community in Saskatoon. And so I've met some really great people that I know I'm going to connect with. I hope to connect with all of you. I'm really looking for that like-minded group of
Sense of
people that we
community.
can have. Yeah, I'd like a conversation about all these great things like permaculture. And what I can bring, I'm a hard worker, and I have pretty decent knowledge about medicinal plants. And I don't know, maybe some other hidden gem I didn't know about will pop up this weekend.
My name is Brad. One of the kind of central themes that I hear people saying is community. And I think that's really important for me because when you don't share values with the people you spend your life with, when that's lacking, and a lot of us work full-time jobs with a bunch of random people that you don't necessarily connect with, which is kind of a recipe for anxiety and stuff. So community is probably the best anti-anxiety, I think, medicine there is. So that's one of my needs. As far as yields go, I don't have a lot of experience in permaculture, but my knowledge base is music and electronics and things like that. So.
I'm Cass. What I'm looking for to gain from this place is a sense of community and kind of like mentorship. You can do as much research as you want, but it's not the same as talking to people and hearing people's stories and what they've tried. And I want to get to know more people like me who care about the planet. And what I bring, I guess I bring a sense of understanding of animals. I grew up on kind of a hobby farm, so I always saw how our animals were raised, and we always had they were pets until we used them for our own needs, and that's kind of the way they should be. And I want to learn how to bring the animal husbandry aspect into the permaculture circle. So I've been gardening for a couple of years now, and I understand that it's possible. And yeah, that's what I want to. That's what I kind of bring and want to learn.
Yeah.
I'm Genevieve, and obviously sense community is what I'm looking for, because it's really important to bring people together with the same values. And we're in like an age of awakening, and this is just like a very obvious aspect of that. We're all trying to become more awake, and I really want to see like permaculture on a larger scale than just like my backyard garden. So what I'm kind of looking to see, and like it's more mature with the fruit trees and everything, is something I'm interested in learning more about the forest aspect of it. And I think what I bring is weird knowledge. Cass and I have tried a lot of different living styles. We've tried like veganism and like all kinds of like eating raw, and we built our own house out in the woods and tried to live without like running water for like a year. And like there's a lot of amazing things people can do if they just like push the doubts out. Like it's okay to poop in a compost toilet. You're not gonna die. And so like I think we have a lot of cool info, and I'd like to be brain picked, and I'd like to pick other people's brains.
I'm Steph, sorry. And Yeah, I guess what I want from this experience is as a place to experiment. It's really nice to be given the physical space to like try out some things and to succeed, and also more importantly to fail and make mistakes, and like also in a sort of community setting. So I'm really happy to have this site where we're allowed to try some stuff, and then also have a community and try to like figure out the dynamics of working with permaculture and with people. So that's what I really need is a space to experiment. And I have pretty good knowledge of the site, so if anyone wants to go for like a walk or a bike ride, or if anyone needs tools, or if you need a thing, I know where the things are here. Yeah, so you can come find me and ask me if you need anything, I guess, around the place. Yeah.
I'm a Stuart, and I've been in these woods all my life. So basically I'm here because we have 80 acres that are where I'm living, and we have like 3 gardens, and it's just something I do with my parents, and I do it with everybody, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy meeting new people, new friends, and I'm a people person, and yeah, what I'm trying to get out of it, just to like meet new people and tell them stories and just chat casually, like, yeah, have good conversations with people.
Okay, I'm Joe. I think originally, I've been coming out here for a couple years, but originally this weekend my whole plan was to have as much solitude as possible, because I felt like I really needed that, and I haven't had that for the last few months. But now, kind of like everybody, I'm realizing that it's not actually probably solitude that I was needing, but more like a reconnection with community. I think I've lost that a little over the last few months at home, just in terms of, like Brad was saying, working with people and just having those kind of superficial and personal relationships. And I'm used to having a lot more community than I've had over the last few months, so it's really good to be up here and kind of rediscover that with a little solitude mixed in as well. And I am also a good listener and amateur counselor and mediator, so if any disputes break out,
/guru,
come and find me. And I like exploring, so I don't have Steph's intimate knowledge of the trails, but
Well, it's not intimate.
I'm willing to
I also
venture
found
out
this.
in any direction. What's that?
I also found this flute. Actually.
Oh, okay.
End it with
Just so you know, Joe, I'm spilling your beans over here.
Me? Okay. I'm Logan. I like all you guys are talking about community. I guess I've been kind of lacking that too, and I'm here to learn. I want to pass this on, like you said, to future generations, to my students, to just anyone I come across so I can have a conversation with. I'm here to just have a good time. I can offer some levity, maybe. I'm a hard worker, here to learn. Maybe I need a little guidance in terms of building, but here to help. And guess I'm a good listener too, and I like exploring.
All your listening needs met.
Yeah, you'll see.
Okay, I'm Jessica, and I'm just so happy to be here. I have been like super pro hummingbird, and I've just found myself in all these amazing spaces and amazing projects and gardens. I've worked and studied in BC, in California, in Saskatchewan. I've been doing a lot of studying on the northern gardens this past winter, and have been involved with some projects in First Nation communities to help bring food security on the reserves. And food security and food sovereignty is like becoming more and more of a buzzword because like it needs to be. And so I've worked on a lot of different types of gardening projects, and permaculture has always pulled me home because it's my truth. And anytime I can get myself into the soil and into the earth, like it's like I just come here and I just, all of my layers drop. The second I walk out of the car, they're coming out as I'm driving. And so it's definitely a community, and it's the earth community, it's the creatures, it's the plants, and it's the people. Maybe sometimes I take it for granted because I guess I'm a bit of a mole too. I puddle and I burrow and I just go to where I need to go. So I'm very blessed with having people that I connect with intimately, because I guess I'm like a hermit mole. So it's just really nice when I come here, everyone's just, it's natural. You can communicate beyond words and just have a resonant dialogue through being present in a space that is so uplifting. So I've got a lot of kind of knowledge and experience and wisdom from many different types of environments. That's my background too. I'm like a human geographer. Or a spiritual ecologist. I know quite a bit about like natural healing, so if anybody gets like a headache, or a lot about like acupressure and stuff. EFT, emotional freedom technique. Anyone who has panic attacks, I can probably, do some tapping and give you some pressure points. So yeah, I'm really into movement and dancing too, and I thought about making a playlist to do like even a half an hour like stretch and jam, but I am not very technologically inclined / my time management is questionable. So I didn't get to, but if anyone's got some like jams, because I don't even have tunes on my phone or anything, but I could like do a little 10-minute playlist, like even a song of the day. Like you guys have no idea how good it feels just to get a little boogie on. So if anyone's got like a good song or two or three, you can maybe come talk to me and we can plan like a little song of the day dance off wherever, anytime. Anybody can call it, like if we're in the garden or if we're like
call a dance off, everyone drop.
Yeah, and then
Before shoots on the horn is dance off.
We're all waiting for the fourth one.
We'll do a Harlem Shake.
I've got good speakers too that you can get plugged into your iPhone or whatever.
Okay,
so.
yeah.
And I've got Wi-Fi on my phone, so we can just pull something up on YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
We'll definitely do that.
Super into that. The plants and everything loves it. So.
I thought of a thing.
Yay!
And actually, like, I do traditional Thai massage. I haven't been practicing it a lot lately. I was once actually a registered massage therapist in doing Thai in the province of Quebec before I moved back out here. So I'm like I say, I haven't practiced a lot lately, but I'm pretty sure the skills are still there. So if anybody's like sore, got knots or anything gnarly going on, let me know.
There you go.
We could tag team. It was
Yeah.
really like such a treat to have two people working on one person.
Whoa. Yeah. Now the ideas are flowing.
I speak French too. Do you speak French? Tu parles français?
Oui.
Puis toi aussi, Logan? Yeah. So on a quelques francophones ici. Il y a
Moi
du
aussi, je
monde
parle le
qui veulent
français.
parler en français.
Don't need. Oh, we don't need to carry that on. We'll talk later.
Okay, thanks everyone for sharing. We'll have 5 minutes and then we'll meet right here to go do a tour of the physical garden, and then we'll jump straight into working. So come ready to work. Grab your water bottles, tools, dress for the weather, go pee.
I have extra smallish gloves.
I'm gonna try to get a glove donation.
Oh, we got some vinyl here too. So.
So it's
It's in the tent.
Okay.
This is just concrete. Yeah, it's just concrete.
I know, right?
It's getting smooth.
I have to have cold water.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
real
think
cold.
it's
bad for you.
Oh well, I'm really glad that you guys are back. It's nice to kind of have that growth. Yeah,
and
definitely.
the continuity.
The continuity, and c'est comme il y a juste tellement, ça passe tellement vite parce qu'on fait tellement de choses, ça donne un peu de, yeah, well, it's community building, right?
Mais en même temps, ça me donne envie, c'était hier, que nous étions ici. Also gives you the feeling that it was like yesterday.
Yeah, and ça aide le sentiment de participer puis d'avoir réalisé quelque chose. Like we grew our
Tu travailles dans le système d'éducation?
Oui.
Where do you work?
Do you need this?
École Saint-Paul?
No.
Okay. Where's St. Paul?
Second
I should
City
let,
Park, North Park,
Yeah.
like pretty close to
Tell Tino
Railroad,
if
but
he
I
needs
Yeah.
the drill,
I went
then
to the
I'll
Saskatoon
go
French
get it.
School in
Yeah.
Victoria. Oh, nice.
in
Saskatoon?
in Victoria.
No, like Victoria School, Nicole Victoria.
Oh,
I didn't put my
Oh,
steel
okay.
toes on.
No.
I was like
there.
Saskatoon French School in Victoria.
No, there's like the Saskatoon French School, and then I moved to Victoria School after.
Oh yeah.
Aw, my kids go to Victoria.
Oh really? Are they in the French program? That was very interesting. People from everywhere. Where are you from?
Originally from southeast Saskatchewan, and but I lived in Toronto where I studied was a couple of architects on a